Well, hey guys, it's Michael here. Today we're going to be doing a little MIG test on both these welders. Down the road in a few more weeks I'm going to do a stick test on comparing both welders, and finally after that we'll do a TIG torch test. And maybe if I can get my hands on an aluminum spool gun we can try these out for welding aluminum. But today we're doing a MIG test. We're running box stock settings, what the chart says on this thing for 1/8 inch and 1/4 inch metal, and we're going to do auto set on this. Of course you can dial them in manually, maybe make it a little more precise, but we're just using box stock settings today to see how they go. We're going to cut the welds apart and do a little acid etch test on them, which I've never done before, so we'll see how that looks. Get into the video here. I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time, so I'm going to start welding here, and I'm hoping to do a little talking and a little narration over the top of it while I'm welding, just to give you guys what I feel are the pros and cons on each machine, price point, features, and all that. So stick around, check out the video, guys. Start off with the omnipro here, and we got an argon CO2 blend, and here's what our flow is. Alright, so we're going to start with this 1/8 inch tubing here, and we got a V on this side, we got a T on this side, so we don't get any of the welds messed up or mixed up here. And we got all these things marked with which welder they're going for. We're going to do a T joint and a lap joint for each. This is 1/4 inch, this is 1/8 inch. So let's get started here. Well, my Miller helmet just took a crap as soon as I started to go welding. It started flickering a bunch, so I think I probably need to change the battery, so I grabbed my other welding helmet. And the hood doesn't stay up very well, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle. I can make do. Here we go. Here's with the Vulcan 1/8 inch. Alright, so we're going to go up to a 1/4 inch now. So we just went back one screen, and we're going to dial this up to 1/4 inch, and we hit enter. We're all good to go. Alright, Vulcan 1/4 inch T joint. Okay, Vulcan lap joint. Well, I did all that welding with 035 wire in the Vulcan, and to be completely fair, I'm going to take this out. This is 030 and put in a roll of 035 wire, and we'll get welding with the titanium next. So here's the settings for the titanium for 1/8 inch. 180 for wire speed, 18 volts, and inductance is between 5 and 10. The Omni was set at 5, so we'll leave this at 5 as well. Alright, this is 1/8 inch with the titanium welder. Man, I wish my Miller helmet, the battery didn't go dead in it, because this one I forgot why I don't use it. See this? It'll never stay up. It's pretty frustrating. Knobs are tightened down all the way. I forgot why I wasn't using this thing anymore. You do that 30, 40 times in a video like this, it gets pretty old. Anyways, back to welding. Oh, one other thing to note, I have not practiced welding with any 1/4 inch, didn't do any tests. I just set the machines up and started welding today. I didn't actually have enough coupons to actually do much practicing with, so I just turned them on today and started welding. Right, you guys, we're going to weld some 1/4 inch now. Wire feed at 280 for the wire speed, and 20 volts, and inductance at 5. One thing I like to point out about the titanium is it will go up to 400 inches per minute wire speed for MIG, and 27.9 volts. Alright, so we're doing the lap joint now, and I had another video where I compared the Miller with the Omni, and people thought I was favoring one of the welders by welding a joint on a hot piece of metal. So, of course, this is totally cooled down, guys, so you can't say that on this one. Here we go. Well, I think both welders did pretty damn good. I was happy with both of them. I just want to state for the record, I'm not a professional welder. I'm not certified in any way, but I do weld at work quite often for projects. I do a lot of stuff around the house here, like I built a bandsaw mill from scratch, a quad truck from an old broken down four-wheeler, log arch for hauling logs, a log splitter. So I think these welders are great for the dude around their house or farm that wants to work on a wide range of projects. You get multitask welder, you know, you can stick weld, TIG weld, wire feed, all that kind of stuff, and aluminum weld with the optional spool gun. But anyways, there's some people that kind of missed the boat on this many times. I'm sure I'll have more trolls like that again. These are not professional welders to be welding with high duty cycles all day long. I've made this clear in the last few videos. I'm not twisting anybody's arm either. I just got these welders so I want to try them out. Been really happy with the OmniPro. I've had it for a year. It's been flawless, trouble-free. I went in the store the other day and I was like, why are they selling two welders and are kind of competing? So making these videos just so we can kind of see how the difference is and how they weld, and the similarities, price ranges, and all that stuff. So anyways, for the dudes that are pissy about these welders and want me to buy a Lincoln or even care what welder I own, buy whatever you want, man. I don't really care. And if you're a pro welder that's welding all day long, you probably need a bigger welder that has a longer duty cycle. But this welder, I think both these ones will do perfectly fine for most hobbyists, homeowners, and occasional welding at a shop or something like that. So this is the results on the 1/8 inch of the Vulcan. And here's the titanium. So here's the Vulcan T-joint. One thing to note, it's got some kind of bluing and purpling from heat transfer on the 1/4 inch here. Be interesting to see how it turns out when we do the acid etch. Here's the titanium. Really don't have quite the same purpling on top, some bluing on the sides here. I think they turned out equally as good. I mean, both welders weld pretty dang good. So here's the lap joint of the Vulcan. Here's the lap joint for the titanium. Vulcan, titanium. I'm gonna save you guys some time. I gotta take these off camera, cut these things down. We're gonna do some acid test etching on it, but I'm gonna save you guys a lot of time because it's gonna take me a while to cut through all these. So I'll bring you guys back in a little bit and we'll see the results in the acid etching. Using 120 grit first, gonna go to 240 and go through a series of Scotch-Brites after this. 240 grit now. All right, on to the Scotch-Brites now. Gonna put a little of this rust dissolver, navel jelly on here. So here's the Vulcan weld. You can see there's acid etch line right there and right in there. And it definitely got right down to the base of the T-joint, right in all that really well. Here's the titanium. Definitely got decent penetration in all these joints here, right down to the base of it. So here's the Vulcan side. A little hard to see the heat transfer, but the acid etch is right in this area. And I should have probably went a little slower with the titanium. It got fine heat transfer as well, but I should have probably built up the weld a little bit taller. Alright you guys, I've been really happy with both welders here. I bought the titanium on just kind of a whim, thinking, well, why are they competing with each other? Why did Harbor Freight do that? I have no idea. If you guys work for a corporation and have any idea of this kind of weird marketing, let me know. I bought this guy back when it first came out about a year ago. It was $750. And since then, they've really crept up the price to around $900, and I think they're kind of getting out of their spectrum what they should be asking. I think it's a great welder. I think it's worth $900. But come on, guys. We're all a little leery spending that kind of money at Harbor Freight, okay? But it's been good. I bought the extended warranty on it. This guy I got for $650 with a coupon. I also bought the extended warranty. You know, out the door with the extended warranty and tax, I think I paid about $800 for it. This one came with a 1 year, no questions asked, just bring it back, get your money back. And I added 2 more years on it for $100. This one came with a wee little tiny 90-day warranty. I didn't really care for that. They really should have put a no questions asked 1 year on these things, just because you're putting a lot of money out at Harbor Freight. You want to be confident the thing's not going to break, you know, 4 or 5 months out. If you're going to get one of these things, either welder, I highly recommend buying the upgraded warranty. It's only $100 more, and it gets you 2 years risk-free. You know, you can bring it back in. If anything goes wrong with it, they'll give you a new one right then and there. Alright you guys, I'm going to go over some of the pluses I see with the titanium here. The cost is quite a bit less. It's lightweight, you know, 24 pounds or so. It's real small to be packing around. I found that I've been taking it to work quite a bit because it's so lightweight. It's actually a lot smaller than the Vulcan. It comes with a TIG torch, which is a plus. It does not have a pedal with it. I'm thinking they're probably going to be releasing a little finger control for the amperage hopefully soon. It has good features built in, like pre and post flow for the gas. It's a little shorter than the Vulcan's flow, but it still has it on it, which some higher end welders don't come with that. So it's a nice thing they included it. So one other nice thing about this is got the digital display. And these knobs are really nice. There's no stepping like the old transformer welders where you had A, B, C, and D. These you can just dial right in your wire speed and your volts on here. Another nice thing to point out was these knobs feel pretty good. There's barely any wiggle to them. They're nice and kind of have a nice little bit of resistance to them. They're actually a lot stiffer and feel a lot nicer than the Vulcan's knobs. You can also run 10 and 12 pound spools of wire on the side of it as well. Like I said before in the beginning of this, that the welder's size is super nice and compact. I find it's more packable, like I'm going to take to work more often just because it's so easy to load in the back of the car. So we'll go over some of the plus sides of the OmniPro here. The digital display is nice. The auto set is really helpful. When I first got it, I didn't think I'd use the auto set very often because I've always had manual welders. It's not a big thing to dial them in, but it is really nice to be able to just switch around gauges really quick by just a turn of a knob. You can go from thin to thick really quickly, and it's always pretty close. And another thing to keep in mind, it's very easy to get into the manual settings like wire speed, voltage. You just turn a few knobs and you're good to go. You don't have to go out of one display into another or anything. So manual controls are easy to get to on it as well. Seems like a nice feature is it's got memory on it as well. So if you have certain presets for welding, say a certain type of aluminum for projects, you can always save it in the memory and always recall that anytime you want. Another thing it has a better duty cycle than the titanium. It just has a few extra amps too. As you know, it's a 220 rather than 200 amp. Both welders have the inductance controls on them, so you can go through and adjust those as well. I don't use them very often, but they're there if you want to play around. One thing the Vulcan has that the titanium doesn't is a spot welding feature, which is really nice. You can set the spot welding time, so whenever you pull the trigger on the MIG gun, it will spot weld for that set time that you put into it and then stop. It's a nice feature, especially probably somebody doing auto body. Another nice thing the Vulcan has is a pre and post flow, same as the titanium, but the Vulcan's actually has a little bit longer duration, which I think is a benefit. Another thing, the gas regulator that comes with the Vulcan actually had a CO2 adapter, so you can run just CO2 for welding for MIG, and that was an adapter for the titanium that I actually think you have to buy extra. Vulcan comes with a slightly more robust regulator. They're probably still cheaper on the cheaper side, but it actually feels like there's a little more meat to it. The ground clamp on the Vulcan's a little more stout, not a big thing, but it seems a little better quality. You can also run 10 to 12 pound spools on this machine as well. And the MIG gun that comes with the Vulcan is just a little bit more robust as well, a little sturdier. This one auto senses when you plug in 110 or 220 to it. The titanium, you have to flip a little switch in the back. And if you do forget to flip the switch, it will just give you a little warning that the voltage is wrong. You'll just have to flip the switch. So it won't burn anything out in the titanium if you hook it up wrong. And like I said before, another plus with this is it comes with a 1 year, no questions asked, 100% bring your back, get your money back if you don't like it warranty. Alright you guys, now the downside, the negative on the titanium. So the biggest thing I see for the negative on the titanium is they should have given 1 year risk-free warranty, but they didn't. What they ended up doing was giving you a 90-day, which is pretty chintzy. I think anybody's leery spending this kind of money at Harbor Freight and not having a good warranty. But I did buy the 2 year extended warranty for an extra $100, and I think it's well worth it. Even if you drop it and do something, they'll replace it for you. The duty cycle is less than the Vulcan, but I'm not going to beat the machine up about it because I did a little research and it's right on par with the Miller-Matic 200, which is a $2,000 welder. A few things like the regulator, ground clamp, and MIG gun are a little cheaper feeling than the OmniPro, but I don't think it's really that big of a thing. And the final thing to point out about the negative on it, it's not that big of a thing, but it's worth noting. It does not have auto set, not that big of a thing, but underneath the door, like a lot of welders, they have a little chart for what kind of gas you're running, what kind of wire you're running, what thickness of metal. It's very easy to set it up, and like we've all used manual welders, so that's not a big negative. Just worth pointing out. So a few downsides to the OmniPro. It's a bit heavier. It's 49 pounds, a little heavier than the titanium, but granted, a 220 amp welder that is a transformer welder weighs a hell of a lot more, so it's still pretty damn lightweight. It costs a lot more. It's gone up quite a bit since I first got it. It was $750 when I got it. They're about $900 now. It does actually have a bigger duty cycle than the titanium though, and a few more features on it. You get more with this welder, so probably granted the cost is difference. So one other thing I noticed when I went to go first buy this was the quality of knobs. They don't feel very quality. They got a lot of wiggle. They feel pretty cheap, but they are digital encoders, meaning they can keep spinning around. They don't stop like a regular pan pot like those. And the center one's wobbly, but it's also considered a button. I've never had a problem with the knobs. They work completely fine, but it does give you a little like leeriness of cheapness to it. It does not also include a TIG torch. I had to buy one for about another $79. So that's another thing to weigh out with making your decision on these welders. About ready to wrap up the video here. I want to give you guys a little more information about why I really appreciate these multi-process welders like this. Started out when I was about 14, doing a little bit of welding, learned how to weld on a old AC buzz box Lincoln. And it really wasn't the right welder for me at the time. You know, it was great for welding thicker metals, but I was a kid, I was working on bicycle projects and I want to weld bicycle frames together and things like that and modify stuff. So it wasn't the right welder for me. So when I was in my early 20s, I got my hands on a little flux wire feed. It's a crappy welder, but it kind of opened the doors for me to do thinner metals and things that I kind of wanted to work on. Later on down the road, my friend hooked me up with it was a Lincoln Weld Pack 100. And I ended up converting it to get gas on it so I could run MIG with it. But it was a good welder. I welded my sawmill, welded a lot of stuff, but I was very limited on amperage. If I wanted to do any bigger projects like that log splitter I built, I took it over my buddy Dave's place where he had a bigger 180 amp miller. Anyways, back to these welders. I have no regrets buying this Vulcan. It's been so nice. It opened up the doors for me to have a higher amperage MIG welder at my house, weld thin to thick metal. I can stick weld if I do feel like it. I don't stick weld very often, but if I want to, I can. I can now learn how to TIG weld. I've never had a welder that would TIG weld. And I adapted a Miller spool gun to this thing, and I can weld aluminum here, so it's been very useful for me. Few last words on this. Me and my buddy did a video about a year ago where we ran this OmniPro side by side with the Miller-Matic 200, and they both welded really well. The one thing the Miller-Matic had going for it was its portability. It was a lot lighter. It's about the weight of this guy. And the OmniPro was more something we said was something that you'd have on a stand in your shop and leave it there. You're not going to pack it around as much. And that's one thing I've been really digging about the titanium is it's so light and portable. I've been taking to work a lot and doing little projects there. It's just been so nice to have a portable welder. Granted, the duty cycle's less. I don't seem to probably ever kind of really be maxing the duty cycles out on days. I don't do that big of jobs with them. But thin stuff, you're not going to ever have a problem on 1/8 inch. You could probably run these things almost all day long on 1/8 inch on 220. It's not going to be a problem. I think both welders would weld together a log splitter, no problem, projects like that. But the packability of this guy is awesome. And I'm really digging it. Like, I really like this welder. I wasn't sure what I'd think about it at first. I've been running it through these tests. I definitely really like it. You guys stick around, keep an eye out for other videos. Hit like and subscribe. Next video I'm going to do is going to be a video where we run these things side by side stick welding. And after that, we're going to do a TIG welding video. And possibly, if I can get a spool gun for it, maybe we'll do an aluminum spool gunning video as well. So keep an eye out for those videos. And take care, guys. Remember, hit like and subscribe. See ya. Alright, you guys, got some welders over here. Got the titanium sitting at my work right now. I've been using it quite a bit the last few weeks here. I really like it. Now, to show you guys how far welders have come over the years. This back here is a welder. Well, actually, this right here is only a spool gun box for a welder. It's heavier than titanium, and it just holds a spool of wire and runs a MIG gun with the motor drive. This is the welder down here. It's enormous. It comes out to over here. It's heavy as hell. I use a forklift to get it out of the back of my truck. It's 100% duty cycle at 200 amps. Of course, this one's only 15% duty cycle at 200 amps. But this thing weighs 24 pounds without the leads. This thing's probably 400 plus pounds. They've come a long ways. Just the box alone for the MIG is enormous. It's got a giant spool gun here. And I tell you the truth, it's old, it's wearing out, and it doesn't really work that good anymore. When I start welding aluminum with it, I'll get it dialed in. It'll work pretty well at first. I'll lay on some nice beads, set down the spool gun, do a few things, come back to it, completely welds different. It's old technology and it's wearing out. So I've been really happy with this thing. It's very portable. It doesn't have the duty cycle of this machine, but I don't need a giant duty cycle. I'm only doing smaller projects here. So it is what it is, but I've been really happy with it. Here's a small welding project I was doing at work. I brought the titanium in for the last few weeks and been using this here. And this is one thing I was asked to build, these vacuum tables. This is sealed off as a vacuum chamber, and you run air pressure into here, and there's a venturi right here. And this is a little relief valve, and you can put material across the top here and it draws it down so you can work on stuff. And they're adjustable height with nestable tubing. Had a few people claim that I wasn't a real welder, and I don't really claim to be a professional. I do get paid for doing it sometimes, but this is a small facet of what I do here. I do a lot of more maintenance, repairing bearings and fixing machines, replacing motors, working on a lot of CNC equipment here as well. And this tabletop I built for the small foil stamper my company ordered. It's a small arbor press that stamps foil graphics onto things, and they needed a tabletop for it, so I built this, and the wings on the table actually fold down to take up less space when it's not in use.